Welcome to In the Heart of the Vault. Today's episode, I'm super excited. I've got, I can say friend, can't I, Tegan?
Yes.
We originally met and touched base on social media platform, and Tegan kindly flew out and came to the Gold Coast to sit on the lounge with me and has given me permission to open the vault. So welcome, Tegan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me and asking me to be on your podcast. And it's cool that it's worked out for me to actually be here in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a privilege to have you on my podcast. I did turn on the weather for you today as well.
Yeah.
So let's, with your permission, as I said, let's open that vault and let's dive in. So we can paint a little bit of a picture about you. And there's a lot, obviously, I don't know about you as well. So let's share with our listeners a bit more about you. Mm-hmm. So you live in Melbourne.
Sydney.
Oh, my gosh. There you go. I'm sorry. We can get it wrong. Why was I thinking Melbourne?
I'm not sure.
Oh, my God. I wonder why you raised your eyebrows a little bit, Melbourne. Okay, well, Sydney's weather's not as bad as Melbourne.
I mean, at the moment it is like this as well. It's rainy and cold, so.
I don't know why I was thinking Melbourne. Oh, my God. Anyway, there you go. So always lived in Sydney?
Yeah, always lived in Sydney. Living in the Hills area. We've lived there for a while now.
Yeah.
Just gotten engaged recently in December. Bought a house and moved in recently, so that's exciting. And we're in the midst of planning a wedding.
Yeah.
So I tried on dresses last weekend, which was exciting.
Yeah.
But
did you find the one?
There's one I really, really liked. But I still want to go to other places and try on other dresses.
Yeah.
Just to know that that's the one.
Know that that's the one.
Yeah.
Who came with you when you were trying on your dresses?
So 3 of my best friends from school.
Yeah.
2 of them are maids of honour and one of them is a bridesmaid.
Gorgeous.
Because my mum's been away on holiday, so she would have come as well. But yeah, then they let you have like 3 people per fitting.
Yeah.
Which is a bit hard when I'm planning on having 8 bridesmaids, so unfortunately I couldn't bring all of them.
Oh my gosh, 8?
Yeah.
No wonder it's going to cost you a fortune. Is that because it's just too hard to choose and just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I'm like, the more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no rules really.
No, it's your day.
Yeah.
So, and you kind of just, I think with weddings, you just don't take anyone else's opinions on really. You just got to sit with it, what feels right for you and fiance.
Yeah, we're learning that because everyone has something to say. So
yeah,
I think that's with everything in life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've got to quieten that down a little bit. How do you handle that, like with people's input? And
I feel like I used to get I get more worked up about it now, to be honest. It was before I used to just like accept that maybe like I was like not right.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm more understanding that like everyone is going to have an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
So you just need to do what you want to do.
And what was the turning table for you to come to start listening to yourself a bit more?
I would say probably comes down to like losing my dad, obviously. Yeah. And I think grief has taught me a lot, and just like I've learnt so much about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that with your permission a bit more. So life when Dad was earthside, what's your memories of your dad like? What kind of character was your dad?
He was very loud and outgoing, like very much a people person.
Yeah.
So like holidays were always super fun and like have so many good memories of like fun holidays. But yeah, he was like a very big personality.
Yeah. And have you got any siblings?
Yes, I have a younger brother.
Right.
Yeah.
And so is your brother like your dad in a lot of ways?
In some ways, I think not as much of a confident people person like that my dad was.
Yeah.
But definitely they have a lot of similar qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I see a lot of my dad and my brother. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of yourself in your dad?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's certain qualities. And I think like I look more like my dad than my mum.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think my dad was like very confident in who he was, and he was really good at talking to people.
Yeah.
And like he was very trusting and always saw the best in people, which was often like to his own detriment sometimes. But
Right.
yeah.
Bless him. And so with your dad, was leading up to your dad passing, was there an illness? Was there...
So it was kind of very sudden. I was actually on a big Europe trip with two of my friends from school.
Right. How old were you then, if you don't mind me asking?
So I was 21 at the time.
Right.
This was back in 2019.
Yeah.
I was actually on a boat in Croatia when my mum called me, and I knew it was like the middle of the night or something at home. So I was like, she called like 3 times because we were all up on the top deck like doing shots, and I'm like,
how long had you been away
why
for
is
then?
mum calling me? I think I'd been away for like 4 weeks at this time. Like it was the last week of the trip.
Right.
And so I went downstairs to my room on the boat. So I was like, I won't be able to hear her upstairs. Like she said, call me back. It's urgent.
Oh, gosh.
So I went downstairs and called her back, and she just said that Dad had had a fit on the beach. They'd gone for a walk on the beach. And he got flown to hospital. And then they did like brain scans and like everything and found out that he had a like brain tumor. So he had like a fit because there was like a bleed. And so then he had heaps of like swelling on his brain. And so once they had found out like exactly what it was, like Mum didn't want to call me until like she knew. So then I just flew like 3 different flights to get home. And they had said that basically because of all the swelling and everything, they had said that he might not make it out of ICU. So that's why Mum was like, just come home now.
So Tegan, you're stuck on a boat.
Yeah.
Croatia. This is like late at night for you. You're in, what the hell? Like you're then trying to process this information.
Yeah.
And then it's not like you're in another state in Australia, which that in itself is hard enough.
Yeah. So Mum just basically booked the quickest way for me to get home. So then I had to the actual boat had to go and dock somewhere, and then got like a ferry, and then I got 3 flights home by myself. Oh. Went to like the randomest countries, and my friends really wanted to come with me. But I was like, look, it's probably better if you stay because you're not going to get any of like your travel insurance isn't going to cover you because you're not related.
Yeah.
So they ended up staying because it didn't really make sense for them to come with me. And it was going to cost a lot as well. But, yeah, that was traumatic. I remember one of the flights, I was actually in an empty row. And I remember just sitting there looking out the window on the plane and just hoping that I would be able to say goodbye.
On a flight, you can't do anything anyway. You know, you get on a flight, don't you, under normal circumstances, go, well, whatever I was worrying about, can't do much about it now, so whatever. But something so traumatic, significant, and not having any source to even just be able to call your mom or do anything.
No, and that's the thing, like I didn't have any internet on my phone. So I was just going through all these random airports, and like one of the flights I had to run because I was going to miss it.
Oh.
But I made it home.
And, you know, then on the other side of that, your mom being your mom with so much angst and so much worry, you know, with a husband in ICU, you on flights, hoping that just as a mom anyway, you worry about your children regardless, then knowing that, feeling your pain and stress, and then you're on these flights and then hoping that there's no delays and no, you know, logistical stuff that usually or can go on. So when you I could imagine you're sitting on a flight, you know, really emotional. Did anyone notice that? Were there any passengers who kind of, you know, was there anyone there for you to talk to?
Not really. Like I think one of the flight attendants on one of the flights where I was sitting in that row by myself, I remember her saying something to me, but I don't really remember a lot of
just so
that, to be honest.
Yeah, just numb, just in survival
and it feels
mode.
like such a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, though, like, which I've said in previous episodes as well, when you just spoke then, and thank you for being so open, like I really appreciate it. I know how difficult it is, but it's literally like you've opened, you know, you're looking at that image in your brain as if it's just happened, as if it's happened right now. You go straight back. Do you know what I mean? Like your emotion and everything takes you straight back to that moment as if it's happening right now or, you know, yesterday. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
So you get home.
Yeah, so I remember getting off the plane in Sydney at the airport. I mean, Mum didn't really tell me a whole lot, but I knew it was quite serious. And I think I was waiting to kind of see what everyone's like reaction was like at the airport, like when I landed, just like see. But I remember just like walking out to like where they were waiting, and they were all just like crying.
Oh. I mean, the emotion of actually seeing them as well, you know, in one sense, a relief that you're home, you're on Australian soil, you're home at least with your family, the people you love the most. What was actually said in that moment when you came through? And
I think they were just saying that we were just going to go straight to the hospital. Pretty sure Dad was in an induced coma because of all the swelling, so he wasn't actually like awake. But I had missed it because he was like waking up kind of briefly, but then he was having fits in ICU. So, I mean, in a way, I'm lucky that I didn't see any of that. And like when he actually had the fit on the beach, I think that would have been very traumatic for my mum.
yeah.
Yeah. Because like he's not like, and she had the dog as well. But luckily there was other people on the beach, she said, that helped her. So she called the ambulance, and then they kind of had to like pull him off the beach more because the like water was coming closer. And yeah, like because he's like over 100 kilos, and like he was a big man, so
And
Yeah, I
body's
think
just
that was-
limp as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Mum was just so confused, like, what was going on. I think she said at first she thought he was, like, playing a joke or whatever. So they were walking and she turned around and she thought he was, like, joking around or something, or, like, yeah, I don't know. And then...
Had
Yeah,
he
I
had
think-
any health issues prior to that?
No, well, the thing is, he's kind of... I mean, we've talked about this a lot, and I think he had migraines a lot, and he used to just take, like, pain medication all the time. But I think he actually did go to the doctor about it once or twice, but he never had any brain scans or anything like that. But yeah, I think taking, like, the pain medication, like Nurofen, it's a blood thinner.
Yeah.
And so I think that caused the initial, like, bleed that he had. But, I mean, he could have died, like, driving his car and, like, crashed it or something like that. So I think, in a way, it's lucky that he was not in the car or doing anything like that when he had the fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you go to the hospital and you see your dad, at that stage, obviously I would imagine, well, the entire family are exhausted anyway. The emotions that's going on, very numbing and very surreal. Plus you've got, you know, jet lag
Yeah.
through your eyeballs, just doing all those flights, and then the adrenaline and everything else. What kind of conversations are you all having? What's the medical team said to you?
So I remember getting there. He was in a coma, so I think he wasn't awake or anything like that. But I remember we went into a separate room with the doctor, and he was basically saying that there's nothing more that they can do. Like, if the swelling and everything doesn't improve, then, yeah, there's nothing that they can do. Which was a hard conversation to sit there and listen to. And, like, hearing my mom say that, you know, like, it doesn't matter how much it costs. Like, oh.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter anyway. So, yeah.
It's, you know, I would imagine, like, you know, it's desperation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, because you're not giving up on him, so why should they? You know.
Yeah.
And bless them. Obviously, you would hope. You know, we're so blessed in Australia to have the best medical profession. You know, they're doing everything they can.
Yeah.
But they don't have that emotional attachment.
No,
You know,
yeah,
they've
it's
kind of got the
hard.
game face on, which is hard because to you it's your world, you know, and you're having these hard conversations. And then, you know, like I said, I would imagine it's like you'd literally do anything, wouldn't you? You'd give your limbs to get your dad back, and whatever it costs, we'll sell the house, we'll do whatever.
Yeah.
But that control's taken away from you. It's just...
Yeah. He did improve though, and the swelling went down, and he was taken out of ICU. And he actually, like, learned to walk and all of that again. So he actually survived for 3 months after that initial fit. And he
Wow.
actually did a round of radiotherapy. Because the tumor, like, the thing with brain cancer is, like, there is no cure. He had glioblastoma, and it was stage 4, so it's, like, very aggressive by that point. So the radiotherapy was just stopping it from, like, growing any bigger, basically. So we kind of all were, like, just taking turns being his carer at home, and, like, modified everything in the shower. but we were all still like working in the family business because he was running his own business, building like big retaining walls.
Wow.
He's like had a big crew of like 50 people
and so that's the thing, isn't it? You've still got life still goes on.
Well, that's the thing. We were all working in the business, so it's like we were taking turns like looking after him like during the night, and then all taking a turn like going to the office and like trying to manage everything that was going on, which was hard, but he did improve a lot, and he was actually going back to the office like a few days a week.
Wow.
With Mum. And then...
Was he well aware of everything that had gone on and what was happening? And
yeah, he was. I think to a certain degree he still... Like he definitely pushed the limit a lot. Like he thought he could do more than he could. And so like he tried to like get up during the night and take himself to the bathroom when we'd said like it's not safe for you to be doing that. Like if you have a fall and like break a bone or anything, you're going to be stuck in bed.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not what you want. But I think he's one of those people that's like very independent, and I think that was really hard for him to like give up all of those things. I think anyone, especially being like a male and like an adult, and I think all of the...
It's pride, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was hard, but... So yeah, he was actually going back to work, and he was actually at a meeting. He was out at a meeting at a cafe, I think it was. None of us were there with him, like a few other people from the office were, and I think a client. But he had another like big fit, or it was like a brain bleed, and apparently he just like dropped to the floor, and they called the ambulance, but I think he was like brain dead instantly because it was so big. Yeah.
So sorry. So sorry. Did you know when like... No, I'm not going to say normally because obviously there's all different variations, but with your dad, you know, had he have, say if the headaches were to a point where he had to have scans and he got a diagnosis, had he have got a diagnosis, you know, then trying to process that, and they say the usually it's the prognosis that kills them, not the diagnosis, because then people, you know, the medical team put a time frame on it, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then they kind of, that's why people say I'd rather not know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We told him that it was brain cancer, but we all decided not to tell him that it was stage 4.
Right.
Because I think mentally he would have just checked out.
Right.
But yeah, after he did radiotherapy and he was recovering, like he was like trying to like go back to the gym and like do like physio, work with the physio and things like that. So I wouldn't say at any point that he had checked out, which was really good. And he never lost his sense of humour either, which was good. Because it depends like which part of your brain it affects really. So I think, I think in that way we were really lucky.
And you know, treading carefully in what I say to you now, because you know, what happened to your dad is just horrendous and it's so painful for all of you. However, blessing that when you got back to Australia and to Sydney, that you had that extra time with him. Do you, I mean, of course you do, any extra second with your beautiful dad is a blessing. I would imagine at that time you're not really seeing that because you're just getting through every day and, You know, there
Yeah.
was a time when you were at the hospital that you didn't think he'd even come out of ICU. So that shows the strength, how much he wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Like you said, and then for him to continue doing all his rehab and such a brave, courageous decision for you guys as a family to make that decision not to tell him, you know, that it was stage 4.
I think now that I've had time to process everything and think about everything that happened, I definitely can appreciate that we were lucky that we had those 3 months after we found out. I mean, the doctors said we would get maximum 2 years. So I think we kind of all had that in our minds.
Right.
So when he passed after 3 months, we were all like very, because he was doing well at the time, for him to like die the way that he did when we thought he was like progressing and he seemed as though he was doing better, I think that was quite traumatic. And I think the way that the hospital handled it when, like, because we were there for hours after we got called, but he was already dead, like, by the time that we'd arrived at the hospital. But no one had, like, communicated that to us. They had him, like, hooked up to all the machines and everything, but, like, doctors just kept coming in and out and asking, like, so what's wrong with him? What medication was he taking? And everything like that. So
the medical, so was it a different hospital?
Yeah.
But no, they didn't access his files and know exactly what was going on?
Well, I don't really know. Like, it was all a bit confusing. Like, Mum communicated, like, who his doctors were, like, where he was getting treatment and everything. And then we kind of were just left to sit in the waiting room for hours. And we're all just like, so what even is going on? Like, we didn't really know. And it was like a really busy emergency department where we were. So when they finally came to speak with us, the doctors, they took us into, like, it was like a linen closet.
Oh my
and
God.
we were kind of all just like standing in there, and they were like, so he's like brain dead. There's nothing else that we can do. And we laugh about it now because we're like, they literally told us in like a linen closet. Like, it was just so bizarre. But yeah.
I mean, there's no way, you know, you feel for the medical field, and same, you know, I can relate to that. Obviously, we had the police knock at the door and tell us what had happened and things like that. There's no, I think, God, the strength that they must have to actually be able to do that on a day. But to, like you said, put you in like a linen cupboard to...
Yeah, it was just thought it was very odd because the waiting room that we were in, other people were having like a private meeting in there, so they moved us somewhere else. But I don't know, it was just like a bit of a
sure
mess.
there'd be other rooms other than under a stairwell.
I just think they could have probably handled it a bit better, but yeah.
So what's going through your mind at that time?
Well, at that point, they took him out of emergency and they moved him to another ward so that we could all like go and say goodbye, and we could call other family members to come to the hospital. My grandparents, who were actually visiting this weekend, they flew down and met us at the hospital. And then later that night we just turned off the machines and then we just went home. Yeah.
And it's, you know, nothing prepares you for that. You've had that 3 months with him, but with trying to process yourself. Well, a few things. You're trying to process your feelings yourself, and almost, I would imagine, you're suppressing them because you're kind of going, I'll deal with my own stuff after.
Yeah.
I have to, Dad's on the mend, you know, or he's getting more active. And then on top of that, you've got the business to all run and carry on as if, you know, not as if nothing's happening, but the world's still going round, the world's still spinning, there's still bills to pay, and, you know, all the boring logistics when you literally just want the world to stop and just focus on you.
Yeah, and I think I can recognise that was really hard for my mum. And I think that, like, once she sold the business, like, she, like, properly began grieving, I think.
Yeah.
Because she almost, like, just couldn't before that because it was just too much. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's important to recognise that, like, I was already experiencing, like, anticipatory grief. Like, the day that we found out that he had brain cancer, like, I was almost just, like, already grieving, and I was just waiting for, like, it to happen because I knew he was going to die. Like, brain cancer is not something that, like, people don't survive. Like, you don't go into remission. Like, they can't cut it out. Like, there's not really a cure because it's your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During that time when, you know, when your dad was doing his rehab and doing all the right things and trying to normalise things, bless him, was there times where you and your mum and your brother were able to have conversations and recognise each other, what was happening, what was going through, or was there not really much time for that? It was a case of this is what's going on and we've just got to get on with it?
Not really, to be honest. Like, I think we were all just like, okay, we need to do this, this and this. He needs this medication. Like, you're going to sleep in the room with him tonight. Like, who's going to work tomorrow? Like, are you working this day? No, and I think we were all just like, everything's fine. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, he's going to, like, get the radiotherapy, and, like, we're going to, like, we're looking at 2 years here. Like, I don't think we didn't have any of those conversations. There was just, like, too much going on. Like, and I think we didn't want to, like, burden Dad.
Yeah.
I think we were really trying to, like, not be negative. Yeah, I think that was really hard.
I think sometimes as well, if you're kind of having that conversation, then it makes it more real, you know?
Yeah.
So if did you have conversations with Dad? Like, was there ever times where you and him would talk about what was going on with him?
Yeah, we definitely did. I think I remember, like, a few moments where when I was, like, doing the overnight and, like, staying in the same room as him, because he would, like, wake up multiple times and have to go to the bathroom, or I'd have to give him his medication during the night. And I don't really know if he was really able to sleep much, but we would have conversations and he would, like, hold my hand. So I think moments like that, I think I'm glad that I was able to have. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost his way of,
Yeah.
with very few words, but
Yeah.
precious memories, hey?
Mm.
So with the, you know, after your beautiful dad had passed and then you're all at home, and then you know, trying to process what's going on, what's happened. Again, almost as if it's happened again, really. It's like I would imagine you, like you said, you knew subconsciously this diagnosis, but
Yeah.
you kind of hope in 2 years, and then because he's doing so well,
Yeah.
you know, maybe even longer, who knows?
Yeah. It was almost like deja vu in a way, because when he was first taken to hospital, it's like we all went home and would just like go back every day, and we were just like that was almost like the beginning, and then we went back to that again, except we weren't going to the hospital to see him anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a big network, a big family and support, friends around you all?
Definitely my friends. I think family is like scattered everywhere, really. Like there's not a lot of like family in Sydney. On my mum's side. On my dad's side there is, but we're not like super close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like my friends have been like a huge emotional support.
Great.
Yeah.
It's so important. Did your mum and your brother have the same with their friends?
I think not so much with my brother, but I don't know if that is more like being a guy at that age. Like,
How old was your brother?
so I was 21, he would have been 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I don't think he has that relationship with his friends. Like I think that's rare for a guy to have that with their friends at that age, where you talk about your emotions. Like I think that's very like, there's almost like a stigma around it. I think it's gotten better, like the whole,
We've still got
like
a
it's
long
not
way
weak
to go.
to speak and all of that.
Yeah.
But there's definitely still like a long way to go.
Well, I think it's, which we've talking about a lot before as well, it's quite surface level. And it's not, you know, it's like kind of acknowledging, knowing, you know, are you okay and all of that, but not really.
No.
Because depending what moment they've caught you on, you'd be the same.
Yeah.
If someone said to you, hey, how you going? You'd be like, good. You're actually feeling like absolute shite, you know, but you're just not going to,
No.
you haven't even got the energy to just open that Pandora box at that moment in time, you know, for whatever reason. And I think with boys, like you said, that age as well is not always, but I think we've got a long way to go.
Yeah. I just think I'm very fortunate, like with my group of friends from school. Like one of them, like they're all very emotionally intelligent, I think.
Right. And they would have known
one of
your
them
dad
is a
too.
psychologist. Yeah, and they knew my dad really well. So like they'd always come over when we were growing up, and my dad was one of those parents that was like would like try and like involve himself in things with us. Like he'd like watch movies with us, and like he was very like, and he knew all my friends' names and everything. Yeah.
So they were upset too. Like it has that ripple effect. Like it affects everyone in that, you know, who knew your dad, who, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, obviously you're his daughter and it's huge, but the fact that, it's childhood friends who are in that circle as well, that just makes it so much more beautiful, for a better word, that you've got them because they did know your dad. It wasn't like friends you'd met later on in life who didn't really know him and the character that he was, and you know, they all had good memories too, so I'm sure you've been able to bounce them off each other, a few, you know, memories that have come up.
Yeah, and my fiance Mitch has been really supportive, even though we actually met after my dad had already passed away. which is a shame. But
maybe your dad sent him to you. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I believe that too. Yeah. And that's, that's another layer to this, isn't it? Because you're, planning a wedding and doing all that, which is exciting, but the one person, you want there the most, other than your mum and your brother, is not going to be here, although, he's around you, but in the physical sense, he's not.
Yeah.
Do you think that's kind of hindered a few decisions that you've wanted to make?
Yeah.
You do?
It's almost like, I think losing a parent at this age, it's like all of those other things that you're going to go through in your life, like they're not there.
Yeah.
So like when we bought our house, like we're getting married soon, and like when I have kids, that's like a whole nother, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just keep coming, the hits, don't they? Like it's like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Do you, when you did your dad's celebration of life, or whatever you called it, put your dad to rest, and did you like what that time frame was for you? And obviously I'm assuming your mum organised all of that.
Yeah.
Did you find, like, afterwards, after that had been done, what was that time frame for you? Was it a couple of weeks, like from?
Yeah, I think my mum and her side of the family are very much like, okay, like they're very practical and like, okay, what are we like doing next? Like, what do we need to get done?
Yeah.
So I think like the morning after we had like turned the machines off, we were already like at a funeral place, and we're like, let's just like, rather than like sitting at home, we're like, let's just go and like do something,
Like a distraction,
and feel like we're moving forward in a way. I can't really remember the time frame, but it was fairly soon after that we had the funeral. Yeah. And like we said to everyone, like, we don't want people to wear black.
Yeah.
We want people just to wear something colourful.
Yeah. We get that. Yeah. It's so surreal for just so obviously your biggest loss, horrendous, and you're trying to cope with everything that's come with that, and then you're in organization mode, which is it's like you're, and again I can relate to a certain degree, but just like you're in organization mode, so it still feels like you're doing something for them, and to honor them, and then you just want to get it right, and then at the same time it's like you said, you feel like you moving forward, but probably the biggest thing of that is it's a distraction. Because you're just going through the motion, and it's the norm, and this is what you do now, and this is what you're,
I think I've like found purpose in, like, I'd enjoyed like putting all the photos together and like choosing songs for the funeral, and like as much as like we were only really, Mum only involved us in like choosing the coffin and like the venue. I don't really remember talking about much more than that.
That's your mum
but
protecting
there was a lot of people that came to the funeral, which was, I mean, quite overwhelming in a way. because I'm not a big public speaker or anything, but I knew I definitely wanted to say something. So me and my brother said something together at the funeral, but and then when everyone like walks up to the casket at the end and like says goodbye, we were standing at the front because we're obviously sitting at the front, but then it turned into like everyone walked to the casket and then every single person hugged us and like said sorry and like before they left, and I was just like, I didn't realize that this was happening, like this is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you're taking on their energy too. You're trying to barely standing upright yourself and dealing with everything.
Yeah, and it's like everyone's like got all these stories and everyone's like, oh, I knew your dad really well when we were younger, and I'm just like, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
Like it's just such, and like it's so odd to hear other people's like stories because they obviously all had different relationships with my dad. But I think more recently I'm like discovering that there's so much that I probably like didn't know or understand about my dad.
Yeah.
Which is quite sad. But I think, I mean, being at the age that I was, and like, I feel like we never had any like adult conversations really because I wasn't at that stage in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you obviously you've grown up beyond your years. You're more wiser now for not for the best circumstances, but you are. And then, I would imagine you're realising how precious time was, and you think of all different conversations that you had, sometimes just the simplest of things. But, I often think with my parents, I'm still blessed, my parents are alive. They're in their 70s and, like my dad's on the dementia train, which, has gone from physically fit building houses to, it's like the slow goodbye, which is just horrific. But I think of conversations, did I, have I asked enough? Do I know enough? And you're kind of clutching at that. So I think it's perfectly normal to think that. Yeah, you were younger.
Yeah.
But it's that old cliche, isn't it? If I knew then what I know now, like you would have asked, like, I think, just the, like you said, you have these people coming up to you, are telling you these random stories, and probably your dad had even forgot about that random story. So he'd, never shared it with you because he'd forgotten, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's almost like you can't absorb any information that day other than what you've got to do. Read in front of all these people with your brother, look after your brother and your mum, and in turn they're there wrapping their arms around you and just getting through the day. It's almost like you're like, can we catch up in 10 years and then you can share those stories with me, and I'm more inclined to soak it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird like that.
Did you so when after that day, and did things, people's lives go back on, right? Yours hasn't. Your mum's hasn't, your brother's hasn't. I mean, obviously your mum's you're trying to run this business as well. What you said, your mum sold the business.
Yeah.
So you and your brother worked for the business.
Yeah. So we were both still studying at uni. So we were both working in the business. Like I worked in the office with mum.
Yeah.
My brother was working on site. So we were both still working. And we were both still studying. So I then got to a point where I finished my degree and then I went and got a full-time job.
Right.
But my brother was still working in the business until it got sold, and then he found another job, and my mum's been able to retire, so she hasn't gone back to work. But
Good. How long after you'd lost your dad did you sell the business?
Oh, well, that's another thing. Like it dragged on for like 2 years, I think it was.
Just exhausting.
Which was a pain, yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine, again, that's another thing. Like, you're going into the office where you're used to seeing your dad in the chair he sat on, everyone talking about people employees not wanting to talk about it in case it upset you, that kind of treading on eggshells, the unknown, uncertainty. Your mom trying to be the boss role, fill every different pair of shoes, be a parent, be a boss, a friend.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with Mum after the business had been sold, and I don't think I fully gauged how hard it was for her until we had this conversation, and she basically had said that every day when she would drive into the car park, she would just sit in the car and cry before she went inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think, our parents are it's their first time living as well, they don't have all of the answers and they don't know, they don't know what to do as much as you think that they might. And, yeah, I think, yeah, it's just so... it was so difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
She had lost her person, so yeah.
Yeah, it's bless her. She's obviously just so much upheaval, driving into that car park, and the world's just been flipped upside down and then some. And her, I would imagine, letting her emotion out, almost leaving that heavy load in the car and then putting on a facade just to get through the day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, that shows what kind of, beautiful person she is, that being able to do that is, huge strength in itself, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, because I think a big thing for her was she wanted to make sure that the right person bought the business.
Yeah.
Because Dad loved that business.
Yeah.
And that's his legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, isn't it? You've had to let go of that. Not had to, but that decision making in doing that as well. That's another baby of yours as a family, your dad's legacy.
Yeah.
That comes with huge emotion attached to it also.
Yeah. And I think
much change.
Yeah, and that's something that my brother obviously wanted to take over the business one day, but he wasn't at an age where that was really going to be an option.
Yeah.
And without my dad being there to which is a shame.
Ropes. Yeah. Yeah, just again, it's that ripple effect. It's not just obviously you've lost your dad, which is massive. It's all the other things as well, and then like you said, moving forward, all these dates and things that come up, that on one hand you're ecstatic and you've met your person, but not being able to in the physical world share him with your dad and those memories with your dad, and then your mom not sharing these experiences with you with her person being your dad. It's just massive, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's also my mum's obviously has started dating again, and then us like having to, like obviously like I'm happy for my mum and like that's obviously her decision. And I want her to do like what makes her happy.
Of course.
But I think like initially that was hard for me and my brother.
Yeah. Did your mum,
like,
did
it's
that come
also
with a
hard for her.
conversation with your mum, with you guys? How was that addressed?
Not really. Like, I think it was kind of just like an unspoken thing almost. Like,
Right.
I think it was just too difficult of a conversation to be like, mum was living separately. So it was kind of like there was that separation already.
Yeah.
Like, there was obviously conversations before we were introduced to anyone. But I think that was like a hard conversation between my mum and my brother, because my brother's obviously quite
Protective.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm more understanding. I don't know if it's because I'm older or like more understanding. I don't know, but yeah, like I don't think it's like fair for me to expect my mum to like be alone for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Like that's not fair. Yeah.
And your dad will always be a person.
Yeah.
It doesn't change.
Yeah, and I
Any of
understand that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, because then you're three, the three of you, you know, after your dad had passed, it was the three of you. You become tighter and more protective without even knowing sometimes. But
Yeah.
you know, I know obviously it's me and Charlie and Evie now, and we're as tight as, you know, we've always been really close, but we're super tight. And you know, we're 19 months into it. I could not even imagine. But then different age, you know, there's 5 years between.
Yeah.
And I do believe 100% what you're saying. I believe it would be handled very differently between Evie and Charlie,
Yeah.
if there ever was. You know, I mean, I couldn't even think of that right now. But you know, from your mom, as a mom's perspective, yeah, like it's not, of course, she needs love or someone or company or whatever that is for her, but it will never take that away
Yeah.
of who your dad is to your mom.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've definitely had conversations about that.